All right, so we got a big Steph Curry game. Fresh actually called the 40-point game out the game before, so he missed it by a game, but
You could feel the momentum.
nah, for sure. And Golden State definitely took the momentum away in TD Garden last night. Well, my bad, not last night, but Friday. Games spaced out so weird that sometimes you forget what days the game come on. But Friday night.
I wish we went out to watch the game on Wednesday. We should have went out for that one.
See, because you thought he was going to... That was when you thought he was going to go 40.
Yeah.
Because we just wanted to go, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
we just figured, it's just going to be a game. But the Warriors picked up a big win in TD Garden to tie it up at 2 as they head back to Chase Center. Mm-hmm. I'm Jon Dubya.
Fresh X.
We are the Hoopers. I ran out of stuff to say, so I just ran to the intro real quick. But, like I say, Steph had, what did he finish with, 47, 45, 43? My bad, I gave 43. Making big shots all night. He had 4 assists because who's going to pass the ball to is going to make a shot? No, I'm just playing. But he's the first player in NBA Finals history to have 40 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. Before we get into the finals, and I feel like we don't have to do this, but I want to do it real quick because I feel like the conversation regarding Steph Curry since 2015 has been real. You either overpraise him. It either sounds like you overpraise him, you don't give him enough credit. Sometimes, I said something tweeted the other day, I feel like sometimes, even accidentally, people will downplay what Steph doing by mentioning. I know, like, your whole thing is people mention Draymond might not be the best player, but he makes the team go. He's the engine on his team.
Stuff, right.
But it's like y'all are downplaying y'all downplay Steph's greatness. When I know a lot of people the kind of y'all trying to downplay what Draymond does. But if Steph isn't on this team, Klay Thompson isn't on this team, a lot of people, this is a totally different offense, and they probably don't even run this offense this way, honestly. But Steph Curry has been one of those players. He's been amazing since his college days. I ain't gonna speak on high school and all that because I ain't watching the high school. I ain't gonna lie. But since he caught everybody's attention in the NCAA tournament, he's been amazing in big moments. Basically, his whole collegiate NBA career. Injuries kind of slowed him down, but to start it off, but he was always good. His shooting percentages, shooting numbers were always great. I think this year is the lowest he shot since his rookie season, and that was like 38%. It might not have been his rookie season.
From 3?
Yeah, from 3.
During the season?
Yeah. It might be as low as ever.
It was his career low, 41%.
Oh, he finished at 41?
Yeah, he finished at 41.
Okay, I know for a lot of seasons he was 38, but that's besides the point. Steph Curry, the first year in 2015.
No, you're right, 38. I thought he finished at 41. 38%.
But
whatever,
right. This first championship in 2015, I don't think people was expecting, especially not this team and this player. So realistically, the narrative has changed now in a lot of people's minds that he should have won that Finals MVP. Now we were saying that then. Everybody should have been saying. I don't remember what writer it was, but he basically wrote an article asking him and other Finals voters for that year, did they get it wrong or did they get it right or something? Because of course, Andre Iguodala won Finals MVP. He received the most votes. LeBron finished second. Steph Curry didn't receive a vote. And I'm not saying this to say anything about him not having a Finals MVP or anything like that. Just throwing some narrative things in there to kind of go back to the point before we get to Game 5. And it's like, when y'all write history, y'all can't rewrite it because y'all feel bad that y'all underappreciated his greatness then. Like, I know the whole thing is this is his first big moment in finals ever, and of course people are bringing up 2015 in Game 4 when he dropped 37 on him, so, to tie that series up as well.
Right. He dropped 47 against the Raptors.
Dropped 47 against the Raptors in the finals of 2019. But I know to your thing that you always like to harp on. You're not the only person that said it, but I know you said, anytime it gets brought up, Steph Curry, because of how he looks and how he played basketball, is never going to get ranked properly. Even think of a smaller player like Isaiah Thomas, who wasn't the shooter that Steph was, but does Isaiah Thomas always get properly ranked because of him being a smaller player and the way he played the game? Because realistically, did he play the game any different from Magic besides he was a better scorer than Magic?
Right, realistically, no, which is why when people who really watched him, as far as just when they rank in point guards, people will go Magic and some people automatically go Oscar, but a lot of people are like, no, Isaiah was the second best. But because they're bigger players, and that's the thing with Steph, he's smaller. I always say him and Kevin Durant's the same player, honestly, but KD's 7 feet, and so you'll pick him first. Because Steph is smaller, I feel like they always try to uplift what other people have done, opposed to just giving him his credit. And it's funny you say you can't rewrite history, and that's the realest thing ever said on here, because it is a lot of that now. Because we can remember at the time when he had a bad game and a bad half.
Game 3 was the only bad games in
but it really was the bad half. He had a good second half in game 3, and then going forward he figured it out. But it was also stuck on just watching what LeBron was doing at the time, and people not wanting to realistically think, that this dude could be the best player in the league. So that was like, oh, it's because I like Klay. Klay's a really good player. I think if Klay's your best player, you probably have a really good team. But everything works in Golden State because they got a player on their team that's been a top 3 player in the league the last 8 years. Like, Steph has been one of the best players in the league. And it's been because, it's because he's not a lockdown defender. Everybody starts throwing this two-way player thing out there. And he's the better defender. But it's all about wins, how you contribute to the game, and at the end of the day, he's been unstoppable. So, but it's been unbelievable that it was him, because even before Steph, it would have been Iverson. Not even just as an Iverson fan, it's unbelievable that Iverson could win these scoring titles, go to the finals, but they always still lost. At the end of the day, they lost the finals to Shaq, and he didn't make it back after that.
There was no justification for
a smaller guard doing something right.
Even though big guards wasn't necessarily winning you championship, big point guards wasn't winning you championships, but there was no justification for a smaller guard.
Because even Isaiah Thomas, to give him credit, and he said it a few times, to give Isaiah Thomas some big credit, he is the only player in the top 75 that don't have another player on that list. But when people do talk about the Pistons, they will act like it's a team. They were a great team, first of all. Yeah. But Isaiah was the best player on the team. Right. He was, maybe I could be wrong, but he was a top 10 player at that time in the 80s. Top 10. Was that crazy to say at the time? I don't know off the top of my head right now.
I mean, you weren't born until 1990, so
exactly.
You know some things, but you wouldn't.
But obviously, like the automatic people is Jordan, Magic, Bird, Drexler, Hakeem. But for them to be at that point, but that's later career. I'm talking about when they won the championship. Them years when they went back to back.
Oh yeah, he was definitely a top 5 player.
They went back to back.
Definitely a top 5 player.
Yeah, I'm not even just saying top 10 in the 80s. I'm just talking about his run.
His run, top 5 player.
But they only won 2 championships. They treated like a team. When it's really like if Isaiah win the MVP, the conversation is different about it. So since Steph has gotten the MVP, and that is like, all right, it's the Finals MVP, which he should have one. Honestly, he should have one. But it's always just been something to slight Steph, and he deserves his credit. But again, you can't rewrite the history like you said, and it's a lot of that going on right now. For sure.
And like I said, you go to 2016, regardless of how you feel, he was injured, he wasn't. He was screaming, I'm back in Portland, and the second round after he got hurt against Houston, which we all seen him get hurt against Houston. Warriors come up short. They lose it in 7. My bad. First of all, shout out to Zach Knowles from Off the Glass, because he did a video last year comparing Isaiah Thomas and Steph Curry. Actually, that's not where I thought of that from, but shout out to Zach.
Isaiah's the last great one that I would have thought of, especially that one as an undersized guard leading the team. And they make that team about the team, but it was Isaiah was the best player. But he got one Finals MVP,
and they do that to Steph as well. It's about the team and not necessarily Steph. But like I said, 2016 they come up short. You feel like he was hurt. You feel like he wasn't hurt for whatever reason. They didn't get it done. That also kind of changed the perception of how people still talk about Steph today, because they feel like he came up short when he shouldn't have came up short.
Yeah, that played into the narrative that it made it a fluke, because you had the people that says Kyrie and Kevin Love weren't there, and then they couldn't finish it. So that just played into it, and then of course KD signs next year, and all those years now people are writing that they act like that they were equals, when at the time it definitely was more of KD was the best player. Just as much if it was a question mark on KD, it was for Steph also at the same time.
And I don't think that ever gets talked about. It was definitely question marks on both those players, but that's what, like I said, they come back, they win 2 championships, they win 2 more championships. Steph still plays great. One year, the first year, 2016, he almost averages triple-double. I mean, not 2016, 2017, he almost averages a triple-double. 2018, they get the sweep. Then 2019, of course, they come into it kind of having a shaky start to the season. We know what happened with Draymond and KD. They got nothing to do with stuff. They get to the finals. KD, of course, gets hurt. Misses the Portland series. They dominate that series. They beat Portland again in the playoffs like they always do. Get to the finals. KD doesn't barely play. I think he played a couple minutes for one game before he gets hurt. Clay, after game 6, is injured. Steph, who has great scoring numbers in that series while playing, having to go against a high school scheme defense in the box and one, people still didn't necessarily appreciate it. They started giving him they started giving him now you know what it felt like, what LeBron felt like all those years.
Yeah, that's basically what that conversation was about.
Then, of course, we know how the next 2 years go. 1 year he's hurt, doesn't play. The next year he has this amazing season where he leads the league in scoring for the second time. And like I said, even in that season, as much as people were saying Steph was having an amazing season, it definitely felt like people were giving Draymond more credit for Steph having that great season than they were just giving Steph for giving it to that. Because, of course, it was Draymond averaging 8 assists. Draymond and Steph top 5 in assists, and it was Draymond with the assists because Steph was the scorer. So it always felt like they kind of undercut what Steph was doing with Draymond, with how Draymond Green was playing.
Right, for sure. That's been a narrative for sure.
Then you come into this year where, of course, a lot of people had Golden State, if not making the playoffs, finishing at the bottom of the playoff race for the West. If Klay comes back, what is Andrew Wiggins really gonna do? Is Draymond ready to play? Is Steph gonna be able to carry the load? Long story short, they get back to the finals. We're tied at 2 going into Game 5, going back to Chase Center. How do you feel about Golden State going to this Game 5?
Honestly, I feel they showed the last game why people put so much stock into saying about their experience, honestly. But I thought it was a game that they should have lost. Steph kept them in the game a lot of the games, with Andrew Wiggins contributing on the rebounds. And even earlier in the game, I like how he was just getting some little solid twos, some little mid-range,
right,
like
what you asked to do, especially with Derek White guarding them.
Just to have something else, to at least hold it down for Steph. And I will say, after going back and look at the game, Steph held it down overall, because it felt like when Boston really was about to pull away, he would hit a three here or there. But they did in spurts. It just wasn't a complete game, but in spurts they got contributions, like Klay hit some threes here or there.
Right, sure.
Jordan Poole had some solid moments,
sure,
or whatever. And then it was just like they couldn't put together a whole game or whatever, other than I think Steph and Wiggins overall. And even Steph had some struggles early in the game, because he just straight up caught fire. Because if you go back and look at it, at one point he was 2 for 8, I think, or 2 for 9.
For 3, yeah.
Right. And he finished 7. He made his last 5 threes, finished 7 for 14. So I think I didn't like Steve Kerr, the starting lineup change at the beginning of the game, because I felt like it put too much pressure on Otto, honestly. I think his role is better when he can come off the bench. He can contribute defensively. You're going to expect him to knock down some threes, but even if he just contribute defensively and give you some rebounds, cool. Put him in the starting lineup is, no matter what you think about people that contribute and the people who people call out the box score people, if you're in the starting lineup, you're expecting some points from that player. That's just how it is. You have to score to win the game. So I just felt like that put a little bit too much pressure on him. And I just feel like Kevon has played well, and they've been getting beat on the boards. So I just didn't think Kevon Looney was the issue there. I feel like Steve Kerr saw some minutes in small ball where it looked good, and then he made a change to Drew Star lineup. He's done that in the past. Of course, that's how they, overturned. We just talked about the first finals. Remember, they went to Iguodala after they were game, whatever game it was, they were down.
Game for you.
So that's something that he's done in the past. Obviously, it's something that he knows, but I don't think it worked. But they showed that they're not gonna go away. They showed that they can make shots in the moments. Klay hit some big threes in the third, and then just with Steph leading them overall.
No.
But I feel like Boston played. They should have won the game, but they didn't play a complete game either, which is why they lost. But it just felt like they always had a counter. They always had a counter until the fourth quarter came, and it was about 6 minutes left. I tweeted, I was like, Boston's starting to try to play the clock game. You can't do that while Steph is cooking. You're gonna lose the game. And I don't think they scored another point for. It was like 6:30, 6:28. I don't think they scored for like 4 minutes after that.
No, yeah, Boston offense definitely went cold in the fourth quarter.
Started getting shots late in the shot clock. If it's 7 minutes to go in the game and you're getting 5 second shots,
right,
you're not gonna win that game.
I know at this point when you get to the finals as a coach, like I said, you've done everything you can do to put your players in a position for them to win a game, win the finals, or whatever it is that you need. But if you're a coach and you see that happening, and which we see happen time and time again, regular season, first round, finals, conference finals,
back though.
But you never see a coach call a timeout in that moment to get his team head together. If you're a coach, and of course, like you can't be in Imes or Steve Kerr's head in any coach head in that moment. But if you were a coach and you see that happening, would you call a timeout in that moment? Especially because it's like you only get so many at the end of the fourth quarter anyway. Like
Boston,
if you're or any team that's in that situation where you're just trying to run the clock.
Yes, if I immediately see that it's 6 minutes on the clock in a game where we have a little cushion, and you look at the clock at 6 minutes and you starting to. Like, you don't have to rush shots, obviously, but shooting shots at that clock, with the clock 5 seconds, like, they got a shot clock violation. They shot it at 5 seconds twice. I think they shot it at 3 seconds one time. After the first time, I would have called a timeout and stressed that we are not in run the clock mode. Like, run the offense, get a good shot. But if you open and there's 20 seconds on the shot clock, shoot the ball.
Right.
Like, if you got a drive that you like and there's 18 seconds on the clock, drive to the basket. We're not about to be shooting with 3 seconds on the clock,
right,
or whatever, and then you giving them momentum because now your shots are going to be rushed. You're going to miss some of them. They're going to get out in transition. If it's one thing you don't want in transition, it's the Warriors, just because when you got shooters, that's the best time to get open shots, when the defense is scrapped. If you look at the history of the Warriors, that's where they always been so dangerous, just knowing when to push pace. I mean, you can literally translate this just to playing in pickup. The games that you play, when you running, you gonna always get the easiest shots in transition because everybody's trying to find their man. You can find little spots, and you can get, if you're in the NBA, you need 3 milliseconds of a day. Like, I see the basket, let me get the ball, I'm open. So you start getting down to them late shots. Now you force them because now you rushing. I would have instantly, if I was I feel like you can definitely put that on him. He should have called a timeout. I don't know when he called the first time. I think it was after maybe it was like a few busted possessions. But I would have did it after the first one. I'd be like, we not about to run the clock. That's not what we doing. That's some 2 seconds or on the clock, or if they was up 15 or something like that. Right. You are like 6, 7
minutes, right. And like I said, that's something you never really see the coach call that timeout that first time it happens. It just goes, and it's like it just keeps building up. But
because you feel like they're gonna figure it out, especially if they come down and make a basket. If they make a basket, then you want them to be like, all right, we can't run the clock. But I think that's where Boston deficiencies offensively come in.
Definitely, because like I said, they have players who can get to the basket, are athletically gifted, and they do settle for long twos, contested mid-range, contested short twos, side step threes, step back threes. And when you're hitting them, it's all good, but when you start missing them, and like say that clock, I don't think they realize how long that minute be when it be taking off the clock. And it's just, some games like that happen when you play a veteran team who's been in these situations. And just a player real quick, Jason Tatum, who I think everybody was expecting to have a big finals. Not saying this was some legacy finals or he had to show up here or the rest of his career is over and he can never be a Hall of Famer. The Kobe jokes are funny because he should have never put out that text message.
Hey, they was going every time.
You should have never.
Was gonna go at you.
But once you do it, you gotta go for it and you gotta stick by it. You gotta laugh it off. You gotta play well. Jason Tatum has been real. I guess the best way to put it is inconsistent offensively. Not even just game to game, but quarter to quarter, possession in these finals. He's averaging 7, 8 assists, and I know people are applauding that because we didn't expect that level of playmaking from Jason Tatum, but they didn't get here behind the playmaking of Jason Tatum. Before the finals, throughout the whole playoffs, he was averaging 27, had a couple 30-pointers, just big offensive nights that helped them pick up wins to get to this point. not disappointed, but did you see Jason Tatum scoring numbers? Did you expect Jason Tatum numbers kind of to drop this much as far as just his scoring and even his shooting numbers? I think he's shooting 34% in the finals.
That's the only thing is the shooting numbers. That's kind of surprising. Obviously, you do want to give him credit for finding the open man. He had 13 assists in game 1.
Absolutely.
I think he had 6 in game 4, the last game. So he's making the right passes, but the ball's also in his hands a lot too, period. So also with these high assist numbers are also high turnover games. Other than game 1, he was great game 1. He had 13 assists and 2 turnovers. But like the last game, he had 6 assists, 6 turnovers. Game 3, he had 9 assists. That was a low turnover game for him, but it was really just kind of the last game. But he's like, I think it's 4 turnovers away from LeBron's record for turnovers or whatever. So, but Jason needs in these series in the playoffs, and Nick Andre, shout out to him. He was real key in giving the Warriors credit because they're making him do what they want them to do. They know that he's not really trying to score on the interior. So when he's like in the mid-range area, even when they try to get that switch on Steph, they're still making him see bodies. So that's not what he's really trying to do. And I mean, he's shooting 34% from the field on twos, but he's shooting, I think, like 45 from the three because you know in the three he can make those tough shots. You can see the basket, shooting over people. He's a good shot maker, but that if he would have been stronger in the mid range, I think that helps. That would have helped in game to close out that game for sure. Because when you already got those leads, you don't really need threes. If they're there, you will take them. But when you got 5 to 7 point leads with 6 minutes to go, you can get the best shot available, and the best shot available is usually a closer shot.
Right. No, for sure. Like say Jason Tatum, who's made his first All NBA this year. Like say this final series doesn't discredit what he's done this year, or it's gonna take away from what he's gonna do with the rest of his career. Like say, I think we all just like say you just seen the scoring output was already there. He was averaging 27 throughout the playoffs overall already. So I don't think nobody saw that coming. Like say,
we know Jason Tatum's role, man. It's cool that he's averaging the assists. Like we like that he's growing as a playmaker, of course, but you definitely want more out of him offensively. Like I don't think that's unfair to say.
No, it's not. That's not unfair. No, absolutely. I don't think that's an unfair critique of how he's been playing the finals. But his running mate Jaylen Brown, who has basically been big for them in some scoring moments this in the NBA Finals, is showing that's key to have. That's why a lot of people are still real high on the Paul George, Kawhi Leonard combo, because having a certified number 2 that could be a number 1 on most nights or on most teams in his career can get you through some games when your number 1 player is struggling. Jaylen Brown, who when he's not just selling for threes, attacks the basket well. Maybe not as far as having his back to the basket, but he does make a lot of those mid-range post shots coming off his crossover and just getting to his spots. Outside of him just being more, just athletically a mismatch for Draymond Green, who's been guarding him in the last couple games. What's been, so important about what's made, I guess, not scoring easy, but what's made Jaylen Brown, been able to help him score this in the finals?
I think, for one, he definitely is taking the advantage, like, athletically that he's had on Draymond. Draymond's trying to make him handle the ball a little bit more, so trying to cut him off, but he's been able to beat him and get to the basket. So that's been, honestly, I think what's been different. He's still been taking a good amount of threes. Obviously, he's going to take his threes, but he's getting to the basket and getting layups, getting mid-range shots, and really not just falling in love. Like last game, he was 2 for 6 from 3. I'm not mad at 6 threes from him. Game 3, he was 4 for 8 from 3. So obviously, you'll always take that or whatever. So I don't mind him taking 8 threes a game. It's those 11, 12, because especially you're at this point where the rotations are shortened, so he's obviously taking more shots because there's more shots to be taken. During the regular season, he might take 5 or 6 threes, but 8, 9 people are playing. Now, when it's 7, 8 people playing, and you're one of those go-to players, I'm not mad that he's taking more shots or whatever. And overall, I think he's done at times he gets a little out of control, but I think he's done a good job of playing under control and being just overall decisive with what he's gonna do. I know Jason's not scoring right now, so I need to score. I got this one-on-one matchup. Let me get a quick move and go get the bucket, opposed to kind of playing with it and trying to figure out what to do. So overall, he's been solid for them overall. Some people like him as their Finals MVP pick. I don't know if I got him yet, but it's either him or Jason Tatum at this point.
I got Jaylen Brown right now because I think Jaylen Brown has just been the more consistent player, and he's had all the moments scoring wise for the Celtics in my opinion in their wins. Honestly,
yeah.
Like I say, which is why I got Jaylen.
I would lean to him more just because. Not even just the moment scoring wise. Well, yeah, actually, yeah, because the moment scoring wise, as far as just like when they've needed to get a bucket, he has been one of the guys that's gotten the points fourth quarter or whenever. So he's really kind of led the way in a lot of those ways.
Right. The Golden State Warriors, Klay Thompson, who's been. I don't think nobody's ever noticed. I've always said this about Klay, but Klay hasn't necessarily been the best in the finals, and this year is kind of another one of those years. And just coming off an injury, it kind of shows in other spots because it hasn't been there consistently defensively. Last game, he played great defense in the full court on Jaylen Brown. He made some shots last game. Of course, it's never what you got to do to get Klay to make shots because either he gonna make them or he not because he gonna take them. But Jaylen Brown is a tough defensive matchup for him, honestly, because Jaylen Brown is so young and athletic and much stronger and quicker than Klay was even pre-injury. Do you think they need to, change anything they're doing to probably help Klay get some more free looks? Or, he's just not making shots, honestly?
I think, honestly, I feel like Klay was a little bit better than the last two games. Like you said, he's always kind of up and down in the finals, honestly. I like that he's made shots. Like, I feel like he's made shots when they needed him, but then, like, he'd go away throughout the flow of the game.
Right.
So, to answer that question directly, I do feel like that's just kind of him not making the shots because he's still kind of getting them at times, honestly. But I feel like, especially last game in particular, he did do a solid job defensively. But I still like, even though I said Jaylen Brown was taking advantage of it, I still like putting Draymond on Jaylen Brown. I said that before he made that move, just because. I honestly want Klay to contribute defensively. When they try to pick on you, don't let them pick on you. But I just want him to focus on offense, honestly. And, I don't mind him going 4 for 10 from 3, 5 for 13. Right. He was in game 3. He's getting 17 shots a game. I feel like you still got a chance for him to put it together to have a complete game. But I don't mind getting the moments from him.
Right. Draymond Green, probably the most polarizing player in this series. He's never been a big scorer, but he's always been a willing shot taker if the shot was there, and sometimes he would even be a shot maker. He played not great. He played good down the stretch, helping them get the win. I think he finished with 9 rebounds, 8 assists, something like that.
Yeah, he finished 9 rebounds, 8 assists. They went offense, defense with him, though. They took him. They was taking him out.
You have to do that when a player. That's smart on Steve Curry. Like, and shout out to Draymond Green because at the end of the day, he doesn't have to accept that with him being Draymond Green. Like, he doesn't have to accept that at any point in his career. He could be selfish about it, but he understands there is more to this is what I got to do for us to win, and I'm gonna do it. Made some good key defensive plays late in the game. I know everybody's saying, basically comparing him to calling him Ben Simmons now because he's just not making shots. Ben Simmons wasn't taking shots. Draymond Green is just missing shots. People talk the podcast. We ain't got to talk about that because it's gonna get talked about everywhere else. But how do you really feel like Draymond Green has been playing in the finals? Honestly,
right. I just feel like overall first of all, Boston did exactly what I said they should do to him. Before we recorded game 1, go back and listen. I said they should make him score. Like, don't let him see the passes, and that's what they've overall have done. Is made him have to at least look at the basket and be aggressive as a scorer. They're not allowing him to not even look at the basket and just pass the ball, which is where the difference of him before in the past. He's never been because I seen somebody posted a stat if he hadn't scored 20 since whenever. He never scored 20. So who cares about that? He was always. I think the 16 years his career, where he averaged like 11 that year, 12. He's always been in that range. It's not about the scoring for me. Even like I've always said, even with Ben Simmons. So yeah, compared to Ben Simmons, it's never about the scoring. It's just the aggressiveness. It's just I'm not gonna score because that's not what I'm out here to do. But if you're gonna leave me, I'm gonna make this layup. I'm gonna make. I can't be mad at him missing for a top of the key three. That's a long shot, and Draymond is not a shooter. But the floaters and the layups is where it's like, all right, I need you to make those. You need to go dunk on somebody or something.
He ain't dunking on nobody.
Yeah, but I don't care about him missing the threes. I do want him to take them when they're open. Which is it hasn't even been about him missing threes though. He's missing floaters. You know what I mean? So it's more so of that.
Missing contact layups. Like
he's been okay defensively, I guess. Honestly, that's kind of what I don't love either because Jalen. They moved him on Jalen, and I mean, Jalen's been going at him. He's still been going at him. People gonna say what they want to say about the podcast because they're not winning, and it just make him seem that he's not focused because he's trying to analyze the game. I don't
do it when they win or lose, honestly.
Yeah, but basically, I don't care that he do his podcast. Honestly, I think it's funny. It don't really matter to me. I do think that there's a different level of focus that could be had or whatever. But if that's what he want to do, I mean, I always stress to people that the NBA players have a lot more free time than we think they have. You have a lot of free time.
Even directly after the NBA Finals game.
I mean, even after the game, what is he doing tomorrow? They played tonight. He's going to have the next day off. So, yeah, I can be, and especially when you're playing in the East Coast, you're still on West Coast time, so it's still daytime over here. So it's a lot of factors into that. Yeah. I don't care that he do the podcast. I just don't care to hear Draymond talk. I don't listen to the podcast, so whatever. Right. But I just think overall he could play better. He could be more aggressive. I think he's been a liability offensively when he looks timid and he doesn't make layups. That's all it is to me. It's the layups. One time he tried to flop and get a foul and threw it up. If he was just went to his left hand, made a left hand layup, he would have been good. But he tried to get the foul or whatever. So, he's been okay, but they need more. They need more, way more out of Draymond.
Like I said, it's not even necessarily just scoring. It's like just looking at the basket and making some of those buddies
just making aggressive plays. When was
the last time he threw a lob off that pick?
Exactly.
Steph ain't passing him the ball knowledge man,
but he haven't threw it because like literally he used to get those lives and those back cuts because he's going to the basket aggressive where you're like, if I don't go at him, he's gonna dunk the ball. But so you come up and boom, now it's open or whatever. We all, no matter where you play, even when you got that guy that we know we're not gonna pass him the ball, you at least when he's wide open, know I can pass you the ball and you're gonna make the layup or force them to come to you.
We just know make the pass because we just know where not to pass you the ball.
Exactly. If we all know you're not even gonna try to shoot, why would we guard you? Like that don't make no sense.
And even just like I say, even just diving to the rim off those, because I know it was a couple times Robert Williams had blocks and Draymond is just kind of standing in that area between the elbow and the top of the key, where it's like maybe if you crash, you get an offensive rebound, or maybe Steph can kick it back to you and you do have an easier shot because this premier rim protectors had to switch over and help. But Draymond is just kind of. I'm not gonna say he's not into it because I ain't out there with him, but Draymond could definitely provide better, more aggressiveness on the offensive side.
Right. People are gonna say he's not into it and he ain't focused because when they lose, they gonna go to the podcast. I just think he just ain't playing good basketball. His limitations are being really exposed, and he really don't want to shoot the ball. Right. And it's different when you start getting older. You don't mind shooting it when you're younger, because like what I said, when you drive to that basket, they know you had to at least come to them, or you was gonna dunk it. But when you know I used to dunk this, and now I'm not dunking it, that honestly make you think a little different. Because the floater is a tough shot. Like you may look at it. Obviously, you're a basketball player, but people may look at it like, how did they miss these floaters? It's kind of really hard to shoot a floater. But it's way easier to dunk the ball than it is to shoot a floater. I'm willing to bet if you can dunk the ball, it's way easier to dunk than shoot a floater. You're gonna get the foul. You going in like
get that you gotta touch on it.
You're gonna make that.
It's not a layup and it's not a jump shot, so it's like it's that in between of how much to put on it. Like,
so now you're not getting that dunk. That floater feel a little bit better when I know they don't come at me. I'm gonna dunk on them. But he ain't getting.
But you gotta settle for the short.
Draymond can't dunk no more.
Going short every time. Yeah,
he can't dunk no more.
Like I said, I don't remember last time he definitely hasn't dunked on anybody in about 3 seasons.
He gonna dunk the next game.
Yeah, he probably gonna get a dunk. Like he gonna get a fast. I haven't like even on the fast break seen him dunk. But that's besides the point.
Yeah, oh man, you see them grades.
He getting older.
No, he podcast. You know he's almost done. They win this championship. He might retire.
I won't blame him. But no, realistically though,
trying to put him in the Hall of Fame.
Game 5 is tomorrow, back in Chase Center, which means it's probably a 9:00 game. I'm not sure. It's tied at 2-2. Of course,
late as hell.
Like I said, I think it's a 9:00 game. I'm not sure.
It is.
It's like I said, it's on the West Coast, so it's probably a 9:00 game. So no predictions on who's gonna win because anybody could win, anything could happen. But what are some of your keys? That's probably gonna be the same thing as always. But what's some of your keys to victory for Boston, real quick?
For Boston, I always like when they play inside and don't just settle for the threes. Obviously, everyone's talking about their turnovers right now, which is a good point. Keep those turnovers down, and it just like seems like when they get their turnovers is always really bad. But
yeah,
I think those are the most important things for Boston because overall, I feel like they've been playing solid. Robert Williams has looked really good to me, but. Don't be afraid of them twos, Jason Tatum, man. It's all right. I would love to see this summer Jason Tatum. Like, he's a big Kobe fan. R.I.P. to Kobe.
You want to see him work on his range?
Just mid-post game all summer. I wouldn't do nothing else. Like, that's the only place I would shoot all summer. When I go play pickup, I remember shout out to Coach Curry. I remember we played for him, and he wanted the bigs to focus on their perimeter game, and he wanted us to play on the inside. And literally, so he made, like, shout out to Darius Morrow, like, he made him play point guard. Like, he literally had to play point guard. He said, I want you to work on your outside game. This summer league.
Right.
he made him play point guard for like 3 games straight. You're going to handle the ball. In real life, he had to play point guard, play on the perimeter or whatever. I mean, he wanted us to shoot threes. I got a fast break and dunk the ball. He took me out of the game. He said, y'all supposed to be shooting threes. I said, it's a fast break. You want me to shoot this 3 on the fast break? He said, y'all supposed to be working on threes. He took me out of the game because I dunked the ball. He said, that ain't a 3. And so, all summer, mid-post, footwork, just whatever you can get out of the mid-range, because that's how you win the championships. And go watch Kawhi 2019. Go watch KD every year. Go watch Michael Jordan 96, Kobe 2008, 2009, 2010. Go watch LeBron 2015, 2014, whenever first championship. LeBron added the mid for Miami, the Heatles. 13.
No, 12.
Both of them. Yeah. He added a little.
They only want to.
He added a little mid range game. And that wasn't even necessarily just to shoot jump shots, but also to get to the basket. The greatest players in the history of the game play in the mid-range area.
Right. And for Golden State, what's your keys to victory for them? Keys to victory. Serious over here.
I would love to see a complete game from Clay and Jordan Poole, but at least if you keep getting at least them contributing how they have. Because Jordan Poole, I think he's been solid the last 2 games. I think that helps. Those threes and those big moments. But a consistent game from Clay, a full game from Clay, and they'll win game 6, honestly. You need Steph to keep being aggressive. Like, I don't expect him to score 40 again. Not that I don't expect him to score 40 again. You don't want to have to make him score 40 just because you don't want to put that pressure on him. But he's averaging 30. They need him to get 30 at least. That you definitely want him to get 30.
Right.
So he finding good shots for Steph, so he's not, because you want to keep him rested. I want to see Steve Kerr. I've questioned kind of when he's taking Steph out at times, and it worked out a minute, but he does so much, so I get Steve Kerr wanting to rest him. But you got to challenge Steve Kerr to leave him out there.
No,
Steph got to hydrate, you know what I mean? And don't get smashed on the boards. I think they did a little bit better this last game. I don't know the rebounding numbers.
Draymond Green got to box somebody out.
Yeah, he doesn't. And Andrew Wiggins, like, he gives so much effort on the 3. Somebody showed a post of, like, Steph shot a 3, and it's Steph, so obviously you think he's going in. That's been the cool thing to do. Steph shoot the ball, you walk down court. And he made this shot, but Andrew Wiggins crashed so hard to get the rebound just in case if he didn't. It's like you do take that for granted because Steph is shooting them shots, but you still need to crash them boards. So, and Wiggins had 17 rebounds, so that was some good effort from Wiggins. Shout out to him. I appreciate how hard Wiggins.
Wiggins definitely been doing his thing this one. in the finals. But other than that, like I say, it's tied up at 2. They'll be back in Oracle tomorrow. Before we
Chase Center.
Chase Center.
Yeah.
San Francisco now.
Oracle, it is ain't the same. Saying they're going to be at the Chase Center.
San Francisco now open.
It sounds sketchy.
But before we get out of here, happy birthday to Antoine Jameson. Happy birthday to Drew Holiday. Antoine Jameson.
Sound like 2 Hall of Fame players to me. Yep. I said it.
Antoine Jameson, Hall of Fame?
Nah, he's not. He's probably not going to go, but his game is Hall of Fame. I don't care what they say.
Drew Holiday going to the Hall of Fame?
He has a good chance if he gets another championship. He's probably not, but I think he's a Hall of Fame player also.
Other than that, you got anything else?
Oh no, just as always, appreciate the viewers that watch every Wednesday for the Hoopers Afternoon Session, which comes to you on the Off the Ball Network's Facebook page, the Hoopers Twitter page, and the Hoopers YouTube page. Shout out to all the listeners. You know, you can find this and everything else anywhere your podcasts are available. Google, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, all those places. Shout out to the people on the moon. We got a call the other day. They said they was listening to hear what we talking about. And that's all I got.
All right, I'm Jon Dubya.
Fresh X.
And we are the Hoopers.